to the pilots, why did you not respond to the warnings? We clearly said from the tower, it's on tape, your landing gear has not been lowered. And the pilot simply answered, we never heard you. There was a crazy horn sounding. We couldn't hear you. The horn was the warning. We never heard it. We never heard the warning because there was already a pre-warning. I'm wondering if that little metaphor can't be much of what our world and we as Christians may be about in the midst of a potentially hectic and often frenetic season. With all the activities and deadlines and details that are part of these tremendous family gatherings within community and church and society, all the privilege we have, particularly in our society. And with emails, tweets, all these messages bouncing, the horn is sounding by way of God's creation. And do we hear the message? Now next Sunday, we'll have the message which will say, for you. This body is for you. This blood is for you. But I'm wondering how often we receive even that most significant sacrament without hearing the word, for you. And of course, Christmas time, when gifts come, how much we give thanks when our name is there and there's a gift that says, for you. Surely we hear it then. But to recognize that each day is a marvelous gift, and this new season of Advent, this Advent, which literally means to come, is an opportunity for us to receive anew the marvelous message. Anticipatory it is, we feel it. Christ is coming. We can tell something's on the way. There's something in the wind. Something's about to happen. And for us, we're privileged, even though we say Christmas is here, we know there's yet more of the story to tell. And in order to be fully ready to experience it, we have these weeks of preparation, anticipation, the coming, something special, something remarkable. And in Luke 3, as Kelly declared so well, the drama is set that makes way for the birth of a Savior. In the opening lines of the passage, Luke carefully sets the historical context. And I don't expect you to go reread Luke today, but know that we are part of a pageant of history where John is part of that. Luke, the historian, introduces John in the midst of a very careful and yet chaotic wave of historical data. In the 15th year, and should you read it, the reign of Tiberius, Pilate is governor of Judea, Herod is the ruler of Galilee, his brother Philip. All of this history is given so that we know that the prophecy from 400 and then 800 and 1,000 years before, that we're part of this fabric of faith. And there's no doubt in Luke's mind that all of this plays an important role to the unfolding story of the John that was and the Jesus that is. And it's Luke's way of getting us to know from the very, very front that the horn has sounded. Something's happening. And not just as warning, but declaration, communicating the message of us coming Savior. Often difficult in the midst of the many overtures of our time and the distractions of noise. But John does face the pressure of his day, even the governmental and religious issues, which ultimately were set in motion so that Jesus would die. It seems that from the very beginning of the gospel there were forces and voices to distract. And yet the ultimate voice that would declare, and if we hear the hymn a little bit later, every valley, the declaration of Isaiah, is even geography. And if you've toured the beauty of Saskatchewan, Cypress Hills, some of that area, narrow hills, and even our own fast running Saskatchewan, the water. See, all of those changes in geography. But even more important than history is the reality of God coming to change us. The declaration is that whatever noisy resistance, be it valleys or mountains or crags, whatever it is, be it stubborn leaders or pretentious Pharisees, obstinate oppressors, tentative tax collectors, even fickle fishermen who wouldn't refuse to follow wholeheartedly, the message would still come to each of them and to us today. Come, follow me. The first century had its own clamor, a cacophony of distractions. Likewise, in our day, all those distractions can be deafening. The season of Advent and Christmas are filled with people and sounds of people struggling in their own valleys, over financial mountains, through emotionally rough places. The noises of the season can often drown out that voice that would come to bring comfort and peace. As we are called to prepare for the one who is coming, the promise is ours that the valleys of our doubt will be filled with His assurance. The mountains can be overcome, the hills will be made low, and even the most crooked path that we've been on, and the distractions that have led us away often from the light and the right of the cross. Our God is the one who would make a smooth path, make it plain. Year after year, long before we're ready for Christmas to arrive, and the season is literally on top of us. And as we get older, and youth who can't imagine how quickly Christmas comes, before we know it, it's done. We say, where did it go? It's over, it's finished. Nothing is left but perhaps those few extra pounds and the mounting bills and the feeling perhaps of emptiness. And if we're honest, we experience more of the doubt than we want to admit. And all of this can leave us with an emotional or even spiritual whiplash, along with perhaps financial whiplash or emotional cares. But it doesn't have to be that way. For in the midst of all of our clamor and chaotic times, John's voice still echoes through the centuries. Prepare the way of the Lord. He says, listen, prepare is really opening our eyes and our ears and our minds. And I'm more and more convinced that if there is a secret, but a perspective perhaps, on experiencing the wonder of a lit candle, children singing, of the embrace and welcome of one another, the sharing of cards, and all the ways that people contribute to the community, from hampers to phone calls. In the midst of all the noise that can come, John is saying, hear the message. Listen to the message. Every valley, every hill is filled with the Messiah. Every heart that's open would reverberate with the one that has come. And so each of us are invited to respond. To respond with a new awareness, with a commitment to listen to the words that perhaps have become too familiar. Words of a Christ child born. Words of fear not from the angel. Words from Mary. Let it be according to your words. And so our invitation is to hear the word. In the midst of going to that store or filling up on gas, whatever we do, going to work and seeing perhaps a poinsettia, looking in at a new. And perhaps it is the mistletoe, where we can give our boss a pinch and say, God bless you, Merry Christmas, and blessings to you. Christmas is more than the accumulation of all the little events that culminate in one big event. Those Christmas parties and shopping gatherings and decorating for the holidays will continue to take place like they should. Christmas is more than the number of gifts that are wrapped and placed under the tree. Christmas is always about opening our hearts to the true gift of God's love, seen most clearly in His Son, Jesus Christ, our Savior. Our Savior is here, right here with us, even on a cold morning. And should the weather change as well, in the warmth and the glories of a Saskatchewan sunrise, God is present with us. In the very flesh, blood, and proclamation of Jesus, we're invited to know that He has spoken, and He continues to speak into whatever dark resources of our hearts that may be filled with doubt or apathy, whatever doubt that our neighbors have of despair for the season. He comes and says, I am with you. Prepare your hearts for something you don't even know, something greater. For the greatness of my coming you have experienced, but there is more. For I am coming again. And so we are invited to listen differently, to look differently, to look around us. Instead of just listening with our eyes, instead of just hearing with our hearts, to listen with that spirit that we one with the God who has come. every encounter we